and drew us to this place. We give thanks this day. For moments we have shared with others, for times when we have reached out across barriers of distance and fear, for times when others have reached out to us, for moments when we have discovered another along our path. We give thanks for this day. For this community of celebration and growth, introspection and solitude, and for those moments of that peace which passes all understanding, we give thanks this day. For our gathering together out of distant places, for our weaving together out of many separate selves, this hour of celebration and worship, we give thanks this day.
If you're a newcomer, you should find a newcomer card in the pew in front of you. And if you'd like to fill that out and drop it in the offering basket when it comes around, we'll know you're here. And if you're online, we invite you to fill out the newcomer card in chat. And if you are a longtime member, we encourage you to wear your name tag so that everyone can remember your name, new and old alike. Some of us are better with faces than names. And we love having people of all ages in this community. As you came in, we hope you saw the bag of activities for hands that like to stay busy of all ages. And if you haven't, please put your phone on silent mode so we can maintain a reverent atmosphere in our chapel. We are so glad that each and every one of you are here. Welcome. So, for those of you who don't know, I have been working on a church history project that we finally got up, we finally have. And in doing this research, I found a very interesting part of not just our history, but Unitarian history that I had never heard before that I'd like to share with you this morning. So on February 9th, 1955, an ad appeared in the Ogden Standard Examiner asking, "Is yours a 20th century religion?" And it advertised a faith that promoted seeking truth wherever it leads, and that believed that dogmas should be tested against modern knowledge. The ad ended with an invitation for interested parties to contact Monroe Husbands at the American Unitarian Association that would later be part of the two organizations that fused together to make our Unitarian Universalist Association. This man, Monroe Husbands, has anyone ever heard of Monroe Husbands? Novel name, kind of ish. Most prominent missionary and evangelist in Unitarian history. And he had local connections. He graduated from the Salt Lake City public education system and later got a degree in speech at the University of Utah. Lots of U words in today's talk. But eventually he moved to Boston to study radio and theater. And somewhere along the way, he fell in with the Unitarians. As it turns out, the 40s and 50s were a very interesting time to be a Unitarian. Because prior to this, prior to the 40s, Unitarianism was really a New England institution. Outside of New England, if you weren't close enough to like see Boston, you probably didn't know any Unitarians. But then the baby boom happened. And in this, Americans everywhere got educated, they moved and urbanized. And as this happened in this national shuffle, ideas spread. And many found that local churches were not to their liking, especially, sorry, let me go back. I missed a line. So in the national shuffles, ideas spread. And as families began settling into new communities and establishing lives, many sought churches. And many found the local churches were not to their liking, especially those who came from New England liberal progressive faiths, who suddenly found themselves in locales where churches formed the first line of defense and apologetics for discrimination and segregation. And being a New England movement with nowhere near the number of ministers to meet the growing national demand, the Unitarian Church in Boston wasn't in a great position to provide support to this new national liberal religious movement. And thus, many of these dissatisfied liberal religious put their names on a mailing list for a church by mail service, hailing itself a post office ministry called the Church of the Larger Fellowship. Perhaps you've heard of it. It is now the largest church in the UUA, which at that time, though, was a member of the American Unitarian Association. And as it happens, U of U alum and Church of the Larger Fellowship member, Monroe Husbands, hometown hero, ended up getting elected to the clerk of the Church of the Larger Fellowship while he was in Boston. And going through the mailing list, he noticed that in many, many towns and villages, there were clusters of members who had no idea there were other Unitarians in their town. And so they hatched an idea, the fellowship plan. It was simple. A fellowship was a local lay-led congregation who would draw upon the local talent and inclination of the community in order to dynamically respond to the rapidly shifting cultural and political realities of their neighborhoods. The Unitarian Association would produce pamphlets and curricula for adult and child education, as well as discussion materials for reading and conversation groups. The meetings were simple. They almost never had music. And they didn't require a building or a minister. It turns out a number at least, met in rented funeral parlors. It was kind of a wherever you have space, you can fit a Unitarian fellowship. With just a handful of dedicated lay leaders and a willing group of participants. And whether it was his passion for Unitarianism or a little leftover Utah missionary zeal from his youth in Utah, Monroe was very good at starting fellowships. He developed an MO. What he would do is he would reach out to people from his list, rent a venue. In Ogden, it was the Ben Lomond Hotel. And he would run an enigmatic ad in the local newspaper. Are you a Unitarian and you don't know it? Is yours a 20th century religion? Some of them a little more threatening than you'd expect. And then give a talk. Who are these Unitarians? And that evening, after his talk was complete, he would find a couple people who stood out and appoint them a temporary board. So you might go in this as a visitor and walk out as a temporary board member. But always and importantly, he left an RE commission. He thought that religious education, especially for children, was kind of a cornerstone of having a community. And in this way, Monroe Husbands founded hundreds of Unitarian congregations. According to some statistics I've seen, the better statistics, the ones that put it on the smaller side, Monroe Husband founded, through this fellowship movement, a full third of current UUA churches. That's pretty impressive, right? I am proud of Monroe Husbands. It makes me a little bit proud to be this close to Salt Lake City. But yeah, so ours is one of those churches that he founded. And I wish I could tell you more about the Unitarian Fellowship of Ogden that was announced April 9th, 1955, the week after Monroe Husbands rolled out of the Ben Lomond Hotel. But the reality is there's not a lot of information about that time in our history. I know they met on Wednesday nights. Their first meeting was at a radio station, which the interim board president owned, but eventually started meeting at the Methodist Church across from the Eccles Art Center on 26th and Jefferson, which we tried to buy in the 90s. So we almost came full circle. It seemed to run like a book club, and it used its platform to discuss topics like racism and liberal religion, philosophical approaches to religion, and conversations on religion. I know that they used it as a platform to invite Marshall White of the NAACP. They invited the president of the Utah School for the Deaf and Blind, from the residential school up in Brigham City. And so this platform was always a place for people engaged in communal activity and growth to have a place to do that. And so much has changed locally and globally since the night at Ben Lomond Hotel. But the question that brought those people together then is the same question that we face now. What does our faith look like in this time and in this place? We stand on the shoulders of people who gathered in radio stations and borrowed church halls, who turned book clubs into congregations and conversations into community. But it's important to remember that their legacy is not a blueprint, but an invitation to meet the needs of this Ogden, this generation, in this moment, 75 years later, and to ensure that ours is indeed a 21st century religion.
As everyone gets seated, I would just love to offer jazz hands or something like that for Nitai and all of the immense work that he and Marianne have done for our museum project. Nitai is basically our resident historian right now. Can we just get like some jazz hands, some clapping? Yes, thank you so much. That was a huge amount of work, both Nitai and Marianne. Nitai mentioned the two groups that came together to make up our current national organizing structure, the Unitarian Universalist Association. And I wanted to say a little bit more about that. It was in 1961 that the Universalist Church of America, which had been founded in 1793, and the American Unitarian Association, which was founded in 1825, consolidated to become the Unitarian Universalist Association. And for those of you who can do quick math, that makes this year, and actually today, the 200th anniversary of the chartering of the American Unitarian Association. And as we find ourselves here in this place asking this question about what ours is to do right now, between the past that Nitai was sharing with you and the future that I'm going to touch on, I just wanted to ground us in this long, interwoven, important history that we actually have as a faith, as Unitarians and Universalists, and then Unitarian Universalists. I joined you just over a year and a half ago as your minister. And over that time of doing ministry together, we have been deeply exploring the story of this congregation, some of which Nitai just shared, and the questions and the people that have been wondering together over these past many years. And we find ourselves again in this place of wondering now. When I started as your minister, I came in asking many questions about who you wanted to be as a congregation in the short and long term. Usually a minister comes in and their role is really to support you in figuring out how you want to live out your vision in the world, who you want to be as a congregation. And so I had many questions about who it was that you wanted to be or who you thought you were. And in a majority of those conversations that I had in those early days, I heard a lot of grief for the transitions that were thrust upon you throughout your history as a congregation, like the selling of your building and COVID and ministers needing to leave. Lots and lots of grief and sadness about the way things unfolded. And the root of what I heard in a lot of those conversations was a desire to return to the good old days. I heard over and over again, if only we could get back to this place that we were when we were really thriving, this historic past. And when I asked about your vision during those conversations, your vision for now, you said things like, more members. We want more members. We want our own building. We want a full-time minister who lives locally. And when I asked you why, you shared often powerful memories of the congregation in the past. I asked why you wanted more members, why you wanted your own building, why you wanted a minister. And usually what you responded to my question of why with was these memories of the past. But I struggled to hear a clear vision for why you wanted to exist now and what you hoped for in the future, what your vision was for in the future. And as Nitai shared, our why is always a constant evolving question that changes. Every time we have transition, we ask that same question, and the answer changes to meet the moment that we're living in. And so because when I was having all those conversations with you in the beginning about why, and I was only hearing history, like we want to be back in the good old days, but I was never hearing a clear articulation of our vision for the future, we started asking ourselves over this last year and a half, in a variety of different ways, this question of why we exist now. Not why we used to exist or how wonderful it used to be, but why we exist now and what we're called to be in this moment. And so over the last year, we've done a lot of work around that. And then last month, many of you came to a visioning gathering where we played with crafts and clay and pipe cleaners. We wrote songs together. Maybe some of you will sing them to each other. We articulated some of our hopes for the future of this congregation. And this time around, during this visioning activity that we did, what I heard was vibrancy and creativity and a thoughtfulness about our future through a lens of the world that we're living in today, not just through that lens of who we used to be. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about what you shared then. Here's a taste of what you expressed during this visioning. You said you want to gather regularly to celebrate and grieve and make meaning of our lives together with intention and care. You said that you deeply value coming together with like-minded people, especially in these times of hatred and uncertainty and fear. You value gathering with each other to lift your spirits and remind you of the bigger picture and give you courage to keep showing up with love. And perhaps the most consistent intention that you expressed is that you want to show up loudly in the local community as faithful people, especially given the direction this country feels pulled in right now. You want this congregation to be publicly showing up as a faith community outside of these walls. You want to be letting people know about this faith that holds love at the very center, a love that is inclusive and radical. So this is a beautiful vision. I share this vision with you because we are at another transition point in the life of this congregation. And my contract with you ends at the end of June. And so we have been considering together the kinds of staffing and leadership that is needed to fulfill these intentions, this vision that you have expressed. How do we do this given the resources we have now, the staffing that's available to us, and the fact that we're in this transition moment? One of the things I know about you all is that you are an innovative congregation that has shifted with the changing times. Even when the decisions come with grief and a bit of duress, this congregation meets the moment with love and creativity. I want to say that you meet the moment with spunkiness. Your history shows a congregation that could have floundered and faded away many times throughout your history. And instead, each time you have proven that there is a distinct need that this community provides. And you have never let yourselves fall away as a community. You have always, always existed in some sort of way to serve the community. I've said this before to you all, but it is a weird, strange, wonderful thing to have a minister serving you from a different state. This is an innovative kind of way of doing ministry. I meet monthly with a group of ministers who are doing remote ministry like us, a group of ministers nationwide who meet monthly to share our ideas and resources. And there are 5 of us in that group, just 5. And I use that as an example of the fact that we are on the cutting edge of what is possible in Unitarian Universalism. We know that this might not have been what we were envisioning a couple of years ago, but strangely, we find ourselves today very well equipped to meet the needs of a world in turmoil. So, given the vision that you've been expressing, the intentions that you've expressed, and the knowledge that you meet moments of transition with creativity and spunkiness, the board has come up with a plan or a framework that we feel excited about for our path going forward. So I'm going to share some of the details of our framework today, and then on June 8th at our annual meeting, you will vote on a budget to support this proposal. And after the service today, our board president, Dylan, will be around to talk through the details with anyone who would like to ask questions. I'm only going to give you a very brief generic outline of our framework. And I will also stay online for our Zoom folks to ask questions too. One moment. Okay, here's our plan. Based on your visioning work, we are proposing 6 months to a year, something in there, of experimentation, with me continuing to serve and in a slightly different kind of consulting ministry role. I would be supporting your discernment and your reflection as you go through this period of experimentation. So I'd still be with you, but in a slightly different role. And during this time of experimentation, we are going to try out some new ways of moving from a period that has felt a little bit like stasis to really living into this vision that we have, despite being a congregation of just about 40 members. And I think that there are ways that we can actually live into this more fully than we have been in the past couple of years. After years of transitions, what many of you have told us is, in addition to this vision you have, you also really crave stability and consistency. So this time of experimentation is going to give that to you too. Even as my role shifts, we are going to continue offering services every Sunday and also increasing the amount of times that we offer our own coffee hour so that we have many opportunities for gathering after a service to be in connection with each other, to do religious education, and to keep planning together. These have been really important aspects of being in community that you all have really appreciated. So we will continue offering all of those things. But it's within that consistency and stability that we're going to play around a bit. We're going to play around with how our spunky 40-member congregation can best use our resources to live into some of our expressed goals more fully. So here's what the specifics look like. You have said that you deeply value making meaning together. And this includes grieving and celebrating and honoring milestones in our lives, as well as exploring what it means to be alive, doing that meaning making together. And so on one Sunday per month, our worship team will bring to you a creative approach to meaning making. These services will be interactive and embodied. You've experienced some of these kinds of services already, and you've said that they are deeply impactful for you. Imagine services like the Mother's Day service, where you heard stories from the members of this community, and then you engaged in a ritual honoring all of the nuances of mothering. So that's one thing that we'll do. You've also said that Sunday services are one of the only times in your life when you fill up on the wisdom and courage needed to meet the current social and political challenges, and that you want to keep gathering each Sunday to be filled with inspiration about how Unitarian Universalists can live out our values. So during these months of experimentation, on one Sunday per month, a guest minister will be invited to lead worship that specifically invites us to consider what Unitarian Universalism is called to be right now. And this will help us get a wide variety of voices, helping us consider what our faith brings to the world in these times of rising hatred and oppression and uncertainty. And this might be this third aspect might be the most important. It's one that I am most excited about. You have said time and time again that you want this community, UUCO, to be in Ogden, in the community again. You've done this in your past and you want to see us doing this now, but it's so hard with a small congregation. You want us to be doing social justice and activism and partnering with groups that are doing good work locally. And you want us to express our values through practice. Many of you already do this individually, of course, but there are so many of you that have said that you want our faith community to be doing that. Like you want to be out there as a Unitarian Universalist together doing activism in the community. And we also know that as a small congregation, this is one of the hardest things to organize a consistent effort towards this goal. So in our time period of experimentation, we are going to every single month partner with a local organization. Think about food banks, community centers, justice organizations, libraries. When we were at our visioning gathering last month, you generated a list of over 20 organizations or groups that you want us to support and partner with. And each month when we partner with an organization, we will give that group $1,000. And they will help offer volunteer opportunities for us to participate in as a congregation. And they will also lead one service per month, one worship service. One of the things that's been really hard is we are too small to have like a social justice committee at our church. So it's hard for us to organize in any kind of cohesive way. And our volunteers are often tapped out. And so what this does is it says, okay, partner group, please help us organize and please help us see how we can best serve your group. And then we will also get the benefit of having them worship with us one time per month. So we will be able to hear about what it is that they do and how they see us serving and partnering with them. And through these partnerships, the community really gets to tell us what's most needed and gets to let us help practice our values. And also, perhaps people in the community will hear about our faith, will hear about Unitarian Universalism, and maybe they will want to participate with us on Sunday mornings as well. So we hope that this is a way of engaging in our community more fully, in a way that really matches the capacity that we have at this point. That's a lot. I think in a nutshell, we know that Ogden needs a liberal religious voice. Ogden needs the Unitarian Universalist Church. And we know that we have a rich history of meeting those needs in a variety of different ways, and that we are creative and can respond to times of transition. So I'm very excited to see what our experimentation generates and how we respond to the chaos of this world now. May we truly cause some good trouble in these months ahead. I'm going to invite you into a moment of prayer and meditation, grounding. And I invite you to just settle in, find a way that feels comfortable in your chair or wherever you are, zooming in with us, and just relax a little bit. Feel like you can settle in a tiny bit, take some breaths, whatever it is that helps you center, breathe, feel the energy of being in this community, in this very special and sacred place. And as you breathe, I just invite you to, with each breath, feel the gratitude of being here this morning. Maybe soften your shoulders a little bit and let your heart feel like it can open up a little bit. I want to offer a prayer on this Memorial Day weekend. Spirit of life, Spirit of love. On this Memorial Day, we remember those people who literally gave their lives in service. And we honor the courage necessary to give your life to a cause that you believe in. And we remember the family and the friends of those who have died. And as with all loss, we remember that we are circles within circles of interconnected relationships, and that the ripples of loss extend in many directions. And we hold with humility the realities of war and the myriad efforts for peace that are not often given their due. And we honor and hold the complexities of honoring our veterans as we seek to also create change. And in this moment, we remember all those who are still now, as we speak, in endless wars. and the impacts on soldiers and civilians and children and animals and the earth and all of precious life. And we ask to have the strength to meet the nuance of our world with immense love. And let us just pause for a moment, just some moments of stillness to give space for our hearts and our minds to feel whatever is alive for us in this moment right now. And then after a few moments of stillness, Nitai will lead us into our candles and stones ritual.
As we continue our collective prayer by coming forward to engage in our weekly ritual that helps us to collectively hold the challenges and joys of being human, I'd like to acknowledge that there is both a lot of reason to grieve and to have gratitude in our community this morning. What that means for each of you and what that means for us collectively is all different, but I would like to just take a minute and acknowledge that there is a lot of grief and joy and just all of those complicated emotions and facts of being human just over the congregation this morning, this month, and this year. But as you come forward to light a candle, let it hold your hopes, memories, and gratitude for this beautiful, complicated world and for our lives. As you drop a stone in our sacred gathering waters, may it be an opportunity to imagine the burdens and your quests for forgiveness held in a community that will let the stone land with care and intention. You may come forward. One way that we practice possibility in our community is by making sure that this community is resourced for the ministries ahead, both in our walls and beyond. The offering we collect each week supports us in being the community that can best respond to the needs of these times. As we collect today's offering, we remember our interconnectedness and interdependence as we generously offer our care with hope and support to all through these times. I get 2 volunteers. Please rise in body, voice, or spirit. Face the center aisle and join with us in singing the offering printed in your hymnal order of service.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Your abundant generosity is part of modeling care and love. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, so I have some good news and some bad news. What do you want first? Bad news. There are a lot of announcements today. But the good news is our congregation, our community is thriving, and we have a lot planned. So please be patient. Please be attentive if something catches your ear, and we'll get through it. All right, so starting with today, we have a letter writing workshop. After the service, please join us in an exciting gathering with special guest Steve Glasser of Citizens for Climate Lobby. And I apologize for the name, MYA. Is it Maya? Maya. All right. And I forgot where it was. Karbasi. All right, from Grow the Flow, who will teach us how to write letters to our elected officials that are effective and create positive change for our environment. We will begin right after the service in Geneva Hall, which is just over there. Other super exciting news. We have childcare. We are excited to be able to offer childcare on Sunday mornings. While we always welcome wiggly bodies of all ages in the service, we know that sometimes a safe, separate place for your children to play is very helpful. The capable nursery staff at First Presbyterian will now care for the kiddos from both of our congregations. If you're curious, talk to Marianne. She'll give you all the details and necessary paperwork. My understanding is this is for children between 0 and 4 years of age, so that there's a place for them to go during the service, so you don't have wiggling, screaming children underneath you while that happens, which we love, but I understand it can be a distraction. Codger Coffee location change again and again and again. It is wonderful. So traditionally, we meet at the grounds. Codger Coffee meets at the Grounds for Coffee on Harrison. They're down for the summer. If you're interested in participating in Codger Coffee, the location has been changing. It will be in the newsletter. Is that correct, John?
I hope so.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. All right. It's complicated. It won't be. It's complicated. It's changing every week. Just check the newsletter. Annual meeting. As Kristen mentioned in the service, our next time we meet, June 8th, Right after the service, we will have our annual meeting, which will be your chance to vote on much of what we shared today and make your voice heard about the next moves that we will make as a congregation. Curious if you're a member and have voting rights, talk to our congregational life manager, Marianne, and she will tell you if you are a member with voting rights. This will also be flower communion, so please bring a flower with you to participate in the service. Newcomer gathering. If you're a relative newcomer and interested in being a member of this congregation, you are invited to join our minister and other leaders of our congregation for a newcomer meal and gathering on June 13th at 6 p.m. We'll share details of what it means to join this community more formally and answer any questions you might have about Unitarian Universalism and UUCO. Shocker, talk to Marianne if you'd like more information. For those of you who don't know, her email is admin@UUCO. It's a useful email to know. And then finally, transitions training. The weekend following the annual meeting, our minister will be back with us to support preparations for enacting our new experiments. This will include some coordination and training around the various moving pieces. If you are interested in helping with recruiting community partners, helping guest speakers lead worship, etc., please plan on joining us on Saturday, June 14th at 10 a.m. for a breakfast and training led by Kristen. It will be fun and exciting. Yep. It looks like Dylan has one more.
The announcements this morning seemed a little light, so I figured we would probably use another one. But the annual business meeting for the Pacific Western region of the UUA is going to be this Thursday, May 29th at 7 p.m. And if you would like to be a delegate to that from our congregation, please talk to me either in person or via email, dylanswick@gmail.com. It's going to be online, so it's going to be on probably Zoom, but it's one of the online bridges.
And now that we have announced...
You said there was bad news. I didn't hear any bad news.
You are more patient than some people in the congregation. So, and with announcements out of the way, there is one meta announcement. And that is, as announcements do start to get longer, we're trying to make sure that announcements are known in advance. So if you have a community announcement you would like to make, please get it to Marianne by Tuesday so it can be in the newsletter. And then it can also make its way from the newsletter into our announcements. We're going to try and crack down a little bit on having an open mic announcement period. So just as a heads up, we are trying. It is a long, challenging cat herding rodeo, but we are on the way to organization. All right, with all of that out of the way, we come to our closing hymn. Love will guide us.
Guide us, Jesus, guide us, open side.
As our service for the day comes to an end, I invite you to join with me in reciting the chalice extinguishing words that are printed in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. Today's benediction is called the Exegesis by Elder Olson. Nothing is lost. Be still. The universe is honest. Time, like the sea, gives back all in the end, but only in its own way and on its own conditions. Empires as grains of sand, forests as coal, mountains as pebble. Be still, I say. You are never the water, only a wave, not substance, but form substance assumed. Go in peace.